Fresh out the box.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, number one podcast for crazy people like you guys. I'm the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Podcast, and our TTRPG, that's tabletop role-playing game show, Fresh Out the Box. So if you're into that kind of stuff, check out that show. Also, we're doing a brand new segment, brand new show. It's called Fresh Out Your Mama's House. It's when I sleep with your mom right as you get there and I run out of the house. And we catch it all on video. It's all hilarious. You're going to love it.
I think
This
that's
is why I don't. This is why I don't like following up Gary when I do my intro, because it's like, do I acknowledge it? Do I not? I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and this is episode 109 of Fresh Out the Podcast. And it's taken 109 episodes for me to, for us to kind of get together and shake up the format and work things out. So just to give a little preview of what's to come. We're still going to start our show off with some fresh news. And then, instead of just going into our fresh picks in general and hopping all over the place, we're specifically going to go through all the big mediums, right? We're going to have our fresh movies of the week, our fresh TV of the week, and our fresh games of the week. And then at the end of the show, each of us will pick one thing from our respective lists and choose it as our fresh pick of the week. This hopefully inspires each of us to check out the things the others choose as their favorite thing of the week and really dive into some of those things. So I'm excited for this, and I think it brings more value to our fresh picks of the week. Instead of fresh picks just being everything that we've been watching and enjoying or maybe not enjoying, it's truly a favorite thing of the week. And this was a nice collaboration we had before the show, wouldn't you say, guys?
yeah. It's usually pretty easy
real.
to talk to you guys. We're pretty agreeable. I don't feel like we have a lot of. We're not like we're not the Beatles. We're not clashing and.
Well, they agreed on everything. It was kind of a 2/3 thing, and I fought every single change. I fought what position it was in. I didn't want to talk about movies first. I want to talk about movies last. I wanted to do fresh games first.
He was being
I
a
wanted to do
real
fresh picks.
McConaughey.
Yeah, dude. They. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel like he's hard to work with.
I
So
love that you
I
just
think
sling
that
a name out there.
Yeah, it just shows.
No,
what-
I added a piece to the fresh news also. Did you see that? We're all editing the document like some kind of cool guys.
I did see it. I don't know if it's worth giving
What,
much time to,
a
but we'll come.
A 50-year-old man's tired on TV. Is that what the news is? We'll
More or
come
Yes,
last.
sir.
We will talk about it. But first, I wanted to kick off the fresh news with a topic that's probably pretty tired for us at this point, but it just keeps popping up. And the news this week, I had to touch on this. So, Thanksgiving, a lot of new movies come out for Thanksgiving weekend. It's typically a big theater going time of year for families, whether they're going on Thanksgiving Day or day after Thanksgiving. And in the past, Disney has really kind of dominated Thanksgiving. Like Frozen came out 10 years ago now, in 2013, and came out Thanksgiving weekend, ended up going on to make over $1 billion worldwide at the box office. Frozen 2, as recent as 2019, also came out Thanksgiving weekend, went on to gross over $1 billion. There's a new movie, Wish. This is a new Disney princess movie that came out this weekend. Actually came out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Disney Animation Studios musical Disney Princess. It's also the 100th anniversary of Disney this year. So this movie is kind of like a culmination of 100 years of Disney. There's a lot of like little Easter eggs and nods to just Disney history throughout this movie. And, it kind of seemed like a sure bet, right? That it's going to be number one at the box office on Thanksgiving weekend. But
Well, you
Wish,
say that. I actually didn't know anything about this movie, so before we started the podcast, I went ahead and did a little research, and I looked up the synopsis of it. And I kid you not, pretend that you don't know we're talking about Wish. This 100% sounds like the plot of a straight-to-DVD Tinkerbell movie from like the 90s. It says, young Asha makes a wish so powerful it's answered by a cosmic force, a little ball of boundless energy called Star. With Star's help, Asha must save her kingdom from King Magnifico and prove that the will of courageous humans with the magic of the stars, wondrous things can happen. It sounds horrible. Like, on paper, it sounds like an AI-generated kids movie. It sounds so bad. You know,
Well,
Toy Story is toys come to life in a little boy's room, and like I'm about it. But this is like Wish Upon a Star magic Tinkerbell stuff. This is not good. This is not
that's
a
exactly
good plot.
the Disney theme at the begin. As Cinderella's castle or whatever pops up before a Disney movie, it plays the theme of when you wish upon a star, and that's kind of the classic Disney thing. It's somebody said, hey, let's take the song When You Wish Upon a Star and make that, which I think is actually from Pinocchio.
Isn't it from Pinocchio? I was gonna say
Yeah.
they already made that movie. It's Pinocchio.
It is Pinocchio.
Well, this is about the wishing star, When You Wish Upon a Star, and not only did it not come in at number 1 at the box office, it didn't come in at number 2 at the box office. It came in at number 3. Number 1 was The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is a holdover from the weekend before. So this isn't even a new release for Thanksgiving, and it came in at number 1 in its
There's a
second weekend.
There's a new Hunger Games.
Yes, there's a new Hunger
They're
Games
still making those?
prequel film.
I didn't-
And it's
I
made.
didn't know that.
It's doing all right. And
that the
and
one
then
with
number
Dinkles?
2. Yes, he is in it. He is.
Is it
Love me
good?
some Dinkles.
Actually, from what I've heard, it's like better than people expected it to be. Like it's getting
Look, dude, I
decent
don't
word
hate
of
on
mouth.
Hunger Games. I'm not a Hunger Games hater. I think the whole thing is a little, teenage romancy, but in a nutshell, it's a pretty cool story from the outside and a pretty cool world. And it is just, we were watching it recently, my wife and I, and it's just ripe for prequels. All you have to do is say, here's all these characters that died beforehand, and you could just keep making them as long as you get good actors. It's a great world for it. I'm about the prequel, at least the idea of it.
Well, the number 2 at the box office was Ridley Scott's Napoleon film that's now out. That's a historical epic drama
With
a
Joaquin
2.5
Phoenix.
Yeah, 2.5 hour movie with Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon, and that ended up.
You know that meme where like the person puts on a little bit more makeup in each frame and finally they're dressed like a full-on clown?
Yep.
I saw that meme on the History Memes subreddit, and it was like, try to put this man's life into a 2-hour movie. Make him a bitch at every single turn. Have everybody clown on him constantly. And that was their review of the Ridley Scott Napoleon movie.
That's
So
basically what it is, more or less. We'll talk about it in Fresh Movies because it'll be featured. Spoiler for later, it'll be featured in Drew's Oscar picks and as we discuss that. But yeah, that's exactly what the clown meme really kind of defines Napoleon pretty well.
I'm glad to hear it was accurate. I hadn't seen the movie, but Napoleon is certainly a complicated man, living in a complicated time in history.
But a R-rated, 2.5 hour long historical epic beat out Wish, a 90-minute family-friendly animated movie on a holiday weekend. That's like disastrous for Disney. Like, this is not to be hyperbolic here, but then looking at the Marvels right now, the Hunger Games domestically has already made more than the Marvels had in much less time. Which, whether they say it or not, like, reviews for the Marvels are all over the place, but the amount of money that it's making is another thing that's just, this is spelling disaster for Disney. And I don't know. We've talked about this a lot of like, animated movies, and is it parents not going to the theaters because they want to see this stuff on streaming, or like what is it? Is it not advertised enough? Is it just they don't care about this? Like I don't know
Okay.
the answer.
You know, I just read the synopsis, right? And you guys don't have to agree with me that it sounded like dog shit. I'll just say that it sounded like dog shit. And Frozen is also a princess movie, right? So I thought it would be fair to compare the synopsis of Frozen. So check out how much more badass this sounds than that crap I read earlier. When their kingdom becomes trapped in perpetual winter, fearless Anna joins forces with mountaineer Kristoff and his reindeer sidekick to find Anna's sister, Snow Queen Elsa, and break her icy spell. Although their epic journey leads them to encounters with mystical trolls, a comedic snowman, harsh conditions, and magic at every turn, Anna and Kristoff bravely push onward in a race to save their kingdom from winter's cold grip. That sounds so much better than I wish on a star to prove that humans are happy magic. What the hell, Disney? Come on.
So let me kind of summarize what happens in Wish, because I saw Wish. I took my family and my daughter, we went and saw it, and my daughter liked it. It's been pretty like ripped apart by critics. It almost seems like people just have it out for this movie, and like it's totally fine. It's not terrible or anything. It's not like the best Disney animated movie ever by any means, but like it's fine, and I think it's fine for families. The plot is Magnifico is this king. He's voiced by Chris Pine, my favorite of the Chris's.
That is
and
not true.
What?
Oh yeah, like easily.
Chris
That's not
Pine?
true. You're pulling our leg.
No.
Isn't
Who are y'all taking over Pine?
isn't this
Taking Hemsworth?
His name's
Pratt, or
Magnifico?
Evans? Yeah.
Himmy, bro. Hemsworth all day. Give me my hamstrings, bro.
Chris Pine has probably made the worst movies of a lot of them, but I find him to be the most interesting
I do like
as an
Chris Pine.
actor.
Man, have you not watched all like the Disney stuff about Chris Hemsworth being in like superhero shape and just being a great guy all the time?
That's great. And I hope that he's Thor for forever. Like, I'm fine with that. But I want Chris Pine to be in a Dungeons and Dragons movie and also try and fail at being Jack Ryan
Star Trek?
and go direct a movie that's called, I think it's called The Pool Boy or The Pool Man or whatever. He directed a movie that's getting like disastrous reviews out of the festivals. I don't know if it'll even be distributed wide because I don't know if
You
anybody will
like
pick it
him.
up.
You don't even like him for like because he's terrible.
I like him
That's
that
what
he
it sounds
tries
like.
things. I like that he tries things. Like Chris Pratt is great at collecting a paycheck and being like, "Yep, I'll voice Mario. Yep, I'll voice Garfield. Yep, I'll be in the MCU. Yep,
Bro,
I'll
no
be
one
in literally
collects a paycheck
every
like Chris Pratt.
franchise ever."
Jahan
that's
will
fine.
fight Chris Pratt. Jahan will beat the crap out of Chris
Chris Pratt, I
I'll
will
throw
fight
the
you.
down right now.
Just sign the papers,
I,
buddy. Sign
I
the
told you.
papers. Round one.
I got one. Let it be known. I got one sentence into describing Wish before we went on a battle of the Chris's.
Well, you said his
tangent here.
name is Magnifico, and he's played by Chris Pine, which I just don't. I'm not okay with.
He is. He's
It's an F on
Magnifico.
paper, bro.
And essentially he has started his new kingdom and invited people to come live there, and it's a safe space where they, he has learned magic. Magnifico can do magic, and essentially he takes everyone's greatest wish and keeps it and it becomes like a spherical ball. He keeps everybody's wish in his castle, and like once a year or however often he will grant somebody's wish. However, Asha, the main character, learns that, most of these wishes will not be granted. And essentially people, once they've given up their wish to him, they cannot remember what their wish was. So they lose a part of themselves in the hopes that one day it will be granted through magic. So essentially they can never pursue what their greatest wish is on their own because they can't remember. It's very strange. It's very very odd plot. Essentially it becomes this girl Asha trying to free everyone's wishes and give the wishes back to the people. And in doing so, she wishes upon a star herself. And this little cartoon star comes down from the sky and is her like little buddy that does magic and makes her little goat talk, and he's voiced by Alan Tudyk. And so there's a talking goat, and Asha gets up to shenanigans trying to get the wishes back from the evil Magnifico. That's the actual plot of Wish, compared to
That
the one that
actually
you read earlier.
That sounds even worse. It sounds even
I don't
worse.
think I did a very good job here.
You know, you did. You did a great job, because now I understand that the plot is not just about a wish. It's about a guy who has all the wishes, and the girl has to wish for wishes to get the wishes back for everybody. And that
Yes.
is so stupid.
When you
That's-
wish upon a wish, 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 wish.
Wish. Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what I heard. And
It does
thank
kind
you.
of sound
Yeah,
like
you did
it was written by an AI. You're not right.
wishes, and yeah, because at the end it just breaks down, and it's like he has a pile of wishes, and the only way to get those wishes is to wish for the wishes.
The only way to free the
It-
wishes is the power of wishing.
I've said wish so much, I'm over it. Drew, do you have anything else to put on top of this pile?
No, I just want to get back to the Disney issue here, and like, what's the solution for
The
them?
Disney
Is there a solution
wish-
for them?
The Disney
They
wish
should
you-
wish. They should just wish for everything
I mean,
to
the
get better.
solution's obvious, and they've known what the solution is for a long time. Stop with this formulaic bullshit. Come up with original, good content. Only tell stories when you have a story to tell. You don't need to, like, force
You
it.
don't need to
I don't
put one
know.
out every year just because you need one every year. Yeah, this is crazy. I'm going to talk about South Park Panderverse later, but in the Panderverse, Disney is using the Panderstone. And they use the Panderstone too much, and the world is breaking down because they just keep using the Panderstone. And so this, to me, like, Wish is, maybe not the Panderstone, but the formulaic stone, whatever stone Disney is using to make movies, they've definitely they've turned to the stone too many times. They've abused their power, and they need to make something new and fresh and original. I don't know what happened behind the scenes on any of this movie. I bet it would be fun to find out, but Disney's not known for like mudslinging their own directors and stuff. But I see there are two directors. It's one of their first jobs. It's her first time directing. And it really seems like it was probably her idea and her project. And I wonder if it would have been better if they had just let her do it. Then they tacked another guy along to like assistant direct, Chris Buck. And I went to go look at the things he had done. And he doesn't have a great track record. He's just been with Disney a long, long time. So I'm wondering if he almost just bogged down whatever her vision was, and it didn't come through completely.
He's probably just the
this
Disney
director-
Vision gay.
Wasn't Chris
Exactly
Buck one
right.
of the directors on the Frozen movies?
He was on Frozen 1 and 2, for sure. This
Yeah,
girl
so
who
he knows how to
directed-
make an animated movie that can make over $1 billion regardless of quality. Because I've seen Frozen and Frozen 2 many times, and I can tell you, they're not very good. But
other
little girls love it. The
This
little
other
kids
director,
love
she
these
did.
movies.
She was a storyboard artist on Frozen. She worked on Moana. She worked on Zootopia. She worked on Raya and the Last Dragon, and this is her first directorial debut, Wish. So I think they just might have whoever was guiding her, I think might have guided her in the wrong direction. She's got a great track record, and I hate that this is her first directorial debut for her.
Yeah, here's the thing is, regardless of quality, I still would have thought this would win the box office weekend and like would do pretty well. And the fact that it's not is just showing that, yeah, I don't know if it's advertising or what, but nobody's going to see this. Not
Let
even
me
families
hit
taking
you
their
with
kids.
this. Let me hit you with Chris Buck. He co-directed Tarzan, Surfs Up, Frozen, where he got a hit, and then Frozen 2, which was not great, and then Pocahontas in '95. So, like, this dude doesn't make great stuff. He's just been around with Disney forever.
Yeah, I saw he's listed as on like pretty much every Disney animated studios movie that's come out in the past 10 years as creative leadership. So he's just like behind the scenes on all of these and directs a few.
One final note on Chris Buck. I hate his face, and so I really just want to blame the whole thing on him, and so I'm going to.
Gosh. You know, the other thing I'll say about this is that Elemental is another animated movie that did not open well at the box office and seemed like another disaster, and then it ended up having strong legs and ended up making decent money over time. So it ends up being a success story for Disney and Pixar over time with the amount that it made. It just didn't seem like it was going to be up front. So it's possible that Wish could go on to do well, but even coming behind Napoleon is kind of shocking. So anyways,
I don't know, man. I think Disney's just finally starting to feel that they just can't. The audience is sick of their shit, man. Like, do better stuff. I feel like they're.
I don't know, man. It happens sometimes. Disney's been around so long; it's a roller coaster. Sometimes they just put out crap for a while.
That's fair.
It just happens.
They have these on the
I
back
got
burner
one
cooking.
piece.
They throw them out there.
hmm Even when I was reading a quick article, it said that this director has been pitching this at Disney for a long time. So you're right to say that they had it on a back burner. I mean, it was there. She's just been ready to go with it. I have one more quick piece of fresh news that I didn't think it fit into any of our other fresh sections, but you guys know I'm a big wrestling fan. CM Punk made a WWE return this past weekend, which was a bunch of people. I mean, 6 months ago, everyone would have told you was never going to happen. Because he's had locker room problems with people backstage. He got fired from WWE, or WWE left the first time in bad graces, and never came back. Then went to AEW and got fired from there, left in bad graces. So it didn't seem like he really had a chance. But CM Punk's back, and that's just a kind of a cool wrestling thing. He's 45, so he's certainly over the hump, but he still draws, man. They brought him back in Chicago, and that's where he's from, and it popped off. The pop for that crowd was huge. So I'm excited to see if he can keep his hands to himself and act appropriate. He's kind of like one of those basketball players that you just like to watch them stir crap up everywhere they go and piss off every city they're in, and every team they're on hates them. That's kind of what CM Punk is like. So it's like watching a dumpster fire. I can't look away.
I think,
and that's it for my fresh news.
I think CM Punk's career needs to go to sleep.
Very, very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
It will be interesting to watch because you kind of like, obviously all the AEW drama is very real. But as far as like the reactions and stories coming out after his surprise debut in WWE, a lot of it kind of does seem fabricated, or what's real and what's not. And I'm sure there are people in the company that probably aren't happy that he's there, but the way that it's being played up, I just don't know how much of it is really real or not, which is kind of the nature of wrestling. When you read the insider stuff, is like what's a work and what's not, and trying to figure it out. And I don't know. I
There's a little
can't.
bit of truth in any good performance, right? So it's definitely known that people don't like Punk, and I'm sure people aren't happy he's back. But yeah, it seems like everybody's responses are dialed up. But like you said, that's what you do in wrestling. You oversell it. You commit to the bit. You know, that's just what it's about.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, great. Well, that was our fresh news of the week, which then now we will, with our new format, transition to fresh movies of the week. To be clear, this segment is called Fresh Movies of the Week. That does not mean that everything listed in this segment will be fresh. As a matter of fact, I know of some things that are definitely not fresh that we'll be mentioning, but we'll get to that later. But I am going to kick off Fresh Movies of the Week with Drew's Oscar picks. The segment's back. It's back. It's here.
Drew's Oscar picks.
Picks.
It is the season. We are in award season.
Drew's
We are
Oscar picks.
the train is moving full steam ahead. And I got to see a few more movies that are kind of in the conversation. We've got Napoleon, which is an Apple film that is in theaters that will eventually come to Apple TV Plus, but for now it's in theaters.
Excuse me. Did you say it was an Apple film? Did they like buy it after it was made, or did they make it from the ground up?
So Apple has done this now. This is now the second movie that they've done this with. So both Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon were paid for by Apple. So It has, you go see it in the theaters, and it has Apple Films pops up at the beginning. But what Apple is doing, and what I think is extremely smart of them, is this is what Netflix and some of the others should do. Netflix especially should do this. Apple then partners with a different distributor. So for Killers of the Flower Moon, I believe it was Paramount, and for Napoleon, it's Sony. And they partner with the distributor to distribute the movie in theaters. So that's why Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon get exclusive theatrical runs first for a few weeks, and then after a few weeks, they will go straight to Apple TV Plus. And there's been tons of market research on this by people that are much smarter than me, but this makes sense to me. Is essentially what they've discovered is when a movie is in theaters, regardless of quality or how it's received critically, when a movie is in theaters, it brings I guess like a bigger thought of success, or like it's taken more seriously, I should say, by
Yes.
the audience. So they're
That's
like,
fair
oh,
to
that
say. For me as a consumer, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
that movie was in theaters. I didn't get a chance to see it. Now it's on streaming in my home. I will watch it. Compared to the new Netflix original that's out every week, and you're like, oh, that's a Netflix original, and you kind of go into it with like that working against it from the get-go.
And if it's not on the top 10 Netflix stuff and nobody told you about it, good chances you're not going to click on it. You know, I mean, maybe some people will. Don't let me talk for everybody, but yeah, there's something about a theatrical release that really elevates the product.
It's kind of funny, though, that all these streaming companies are like, let's make original movies. And then they're like, you know what would be crazy? If we showed these in theaters. Like, it's, I don't know, they're like, did it backwards, which is just really funny.
Yeah, they did. It is very.
We're seeing Netflix prices skyrocket. Even Apple TV Plus has raised their prices, and Disney Plus has raised their prices, and everybody's raising their prices. And there's even, word on the street is that Paramount, there's a good chance that it ends up getting purchased by somebody in the future, whether it's Universal or somebody else, and then Paramount could get rolled into Peacock, or it could get rolled into something else. Like there's a big possibility of that happening at some point. Remains to be seen. But yeah, it's like everybody went all in on streaming, and now they've all realized that it's not profitable, and they're trying to figure out how to make it profitable. And it turns out it's hard. And Disney's a big victim of this, of just spending so much money on content and going overboard with it, and providing stuff that nobody really wants, and then the quality starts slipping, and now they're having to pull it back a little bit. So I like Apple's strategy of, for these big ones that we know are good, we're going to fund them. We're going to give Ridley Scott the money to make Napoleon. We're going to give Marty the money to make Killers of the Flower Moon. Like we're backing this. We'll put it in theaters, and then it'll be on our service. I think that's a smart strategy, because I know a lot of people that are waiting for Killers of the Flower Moon to hit Apple TV Plus to watch it, because they didn't want to go sit in a theater for 3.5 hours. And I get it. That being said, another movie that I saw is called The Holdovers, and this movie, it's out in theaters now. It's kind of a small Oscar-y movie, but it's really great. It's a great holiday movie, and it's a great family movie to see. And it's kind of a shame. Like, I know a lot of my local theaters here, you can't even see it anymore. So hopefully it's on VOD soon. But this movie stars Paul Giamatti, and it's directed by Alexander Payne. And the plot is he's a teacher at a boys' boarding school, and has to stay over the Christmas holidays, and because there are kids that are referred to as holdovers whose parents are maybe gone for the holidays, or they can't go home, so they have to stay at school during the holidays. And so Paul Giamatti is the teacher that has to stay with the holdovers.
Like in Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets its name.
It gets its name from Harry Potter?
No, just great family-friendly movie, and it's going to be a top Oscar contender. It's going to be nominated for Best Picture. Paul Giamatti is pretty much going to be a lock for getting a Best Actor nomination, alongside Cillian Murphy and Leonardo DiCaprio. I feel like those three are as close to locks as it can be for the Best Actor category. The other spots are kind of moving around. I don't think that Joaquin Phoenix is going to make it. Napoleon doesn't seem like it's really on anybody's radars for Oscars, even though it's kind of a big traditional Oscar-y movie. And then another one that's called Rustin.
The last movie you saw, is this one about iron aging outside to the elements?
It is not.
But
I do
yeah.
appreciate that joke.
Because the movie's called Rustin.
Rustin is it's a biopic. It's on Netflix, and it stars Coleman Domingo as Bayard Rustin, who he is a civil rights activist who helped to organize the March on Washington in 1963, where Martin Luther King gave the famous "I Have a Dream" speech. So like this, just reading that, it's like the most classic Oscar bait, biopic. And Coleman Domingo is kind of a famous that guy. If you don't know the name, you've probably seen him in something over the course of his long career. And he's a great performer. I love seeing him pop up in pretty much anything
He was
that
in
he's
Fear
in.
the Walking Dead, Jahan.
He was in Fear the Walking Dead.
Oh, this guy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he's, he is, how old is Coleman Domingo? Coleman Domingo is now 53 years old. Yeah. And turns 54 tomorrow. Is about that at the time of this recording? He's one of those guys that's been around for a while, and now he's getting a lot more recognition later in his career, and is getting like leading man opportunities. And so I wanted to see this movie because I really like him, and I wanted to see what he did. And his performance in this movie is really good, and this movie is not good. I just did not like the movie at all. And it is a bummer. And it's Netflix. It's produced by Barack and Michelle Obama's production company, which they've done a lot of Netflix movies over the years. So like there's just a lot of power behind this movie, and I went in like expecting it to be really good, and I love movies where people sit around and talk, and this was one of those that just was not successful. Like there's a major plot point of this movie is whether this protest they're organizing should be 1 or 2 days. Like that's a plot point in the movie that they dwell on for a long time. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like let's get on with it. As I said, Coleman Domingo's performance is really good. It's an important story, and he's one of those people that's on the cusp where he very well could get nominated for an Academy Award. He'll definitely be in the awards conversation and get nominations at some of the other shows. But it'll be interesting to see where this one goes. But it's looking like Holdovers guaranteed to be part of the conversation. Rustin will be floating around there, at least in the Best Actor category. Napoleon kind of seems like a non-contender, despite being a pretty decent Ridley Scott historical epic, which he's known for doing well. If you look at Gladiator and The Last Duel and Kingdom of Heaven, some of these other movies he's done. So that's it for Drew's Oscar picks for this week.
Oscar picks.
And now we can get through some of these movies pretty quickly. But the next one I'll go to is one that Jahan and I actually got to see together.
Yeah, we did.
We get to go see Thanksgiving.
I'm thankful that I got to see this movie with you, Drew.
You
I get it.
Tell about Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm sorry, Gary. I'm sorry. You're in a different state. I don't know what to tell you, man.
No, I don't care. I wouldn't hang out with you two pieces of shit anyways.
Nice. I wouldn't hang out with me either. Yeah, Thanksgiving was solid, man. So Thanksgiving seemed like a hacky piece of shit on paper. Like, it looked bad. It looked hokey. I didn't think it was going to be good. I liked this movie. It was a solid slasher. But yeah, this movie has an interesting origin. It started as a fake trailer that played in between the two movies of the Grindhouse movies, Death Proof and Terror Planet. So in between those two movies, they were fake trailers. One of them was Machete, which we all know became a movie. And then this one, like 15 years later or whatever, Thanksgiving comes to fruition. And me and Drew, before the movie, watched the fake trailer. And
We did.
if you're
I'm
gonna
really
see
glad we
this,
did.
If you're going to see this movie, watch the fake trailer first so you can see the matchups. It was pretty good. But honestly, this movie had some solid actors in it. A lot of people I recognized, a lot of people that I enjoy. And it was a solid campy slasher. Like it had everything that you'd want. It had some of the tropes. It did some things fresh. Had good action. It had good whodunit. Some truly spectacular kills. Some kind of hokey kills, but you know you expect those. You want them sometimes. Solid movie. It opens up crazy. The opening I didn't see coming, and I liked it a lot. But yeah, I really enjoyed Thanksgiving. What do you think, Drew?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, the the whole plot is driven forward. It begins with things that happen on Black Friday. And some of these things are horrid that happen in the movie, and we're of course laughing out loud
so
at how
hard.
awful this stuff is, which is extra terrible because there are things like this that happened in the movie that have happened in real life that are truly tragic, and this movie uses those things as like a horror movie gore fest plot point, and it worked. It was good. And then there's some really great kills. A lot of them are inspired from some of the kills that you see in the fake trailer that aired over 16 years ago when Grindhouse was in theaters, which is just kind of insane.
That
But
means
yeah,
there's
this
still
was
a chance for Werewolf Women of the SS to get made, and that was my favorite of the trailers. That's
Oh,
Rob
boy.
Zombie's Nazi werewolf exploitation movie. Now it's becoming a reality. I can only hope.
I'd watch it.
truly anything is possible at this point. And man, what a good one for John and I get to see together. I thought this was a really fun time at the theater, and like it's actually doing pretty well for being a lower budget horror movie directed by Eli Roth. So it I think it hung out in the top 5 of the box office for Thanksgiving weekend as it should. So yeah, that's Thanksgiving.
I think it's a great holiday film, not for the family. So yeah, you have older family, maybe gather around and watch this.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
felt about Violent Night last year, the David Harbour Santa
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
I will probably watch it again this year. I liked it enough.
Which
That
I've
was
been
like-
watching
But I'll
things
probably
on.
watch Thanksgiving.
I've been watching things on Amazon recently on Prime Video, and Violent Night is on there now, and it's been hanging out in the top 10, and I keep seeing it. I know how positively you spoke about it last year, and I still haven't seen it. So now that I keep seeing it flash before me, I'll probably catch up on it this
Violent
season.
Night was solid. It was my birthday movie last year because my birthday's Christmas Eve. We always
Okay.
watch a movie, and that's what we watched, and I was not disappointed. It was awesome.
For this week's Fresh Movies, I've got one. It didn't come out this week, but it is available on streaming services. It's the South Park Panderverse movie. It's they don't do episodes anymore right now. They're doing these sort of maybe like hour and 10-minute movies. They're short movies, but they are, I guess, technically movies. But South Park Panderverse, I talked about it a little bit earlier. The main plot of it is that Kathleen Kennedy has been using the Pander Stone to make Disney movies, and Kathleen Kennedy used it too much, and then a Cartman version of Kathleen Kennedy came through the portal and cast her to another dimension. And so now the Cartman version just says you got to put a chick in everything and make her gay and make it lame. And that's all that Cartman Kathleen Kennedy says in every conversation. Put a chick in it and make her gay and make it lame. And then he'll storm out. And so the whole thing is just based around, Disney sort of pandering and the world, how the world is changing. One of the secondary plots, of course, is what Randy Marsh gets up to. And he is trying to get somebody to fix his oven door.
Oh boy.
But the handyman there's only one handyman in town, right? Because everyone went to college, so no handyman anymore. So now the handyman just keeps driving the price up. So all the dads get pissed off and they wind up in a Home Depot parking lot, and they've all got signs that are like offering HR services for handyman work, offering banking services and accounting and stuff like that. So it's all these white collar guys standing in a Home Depot parking lot trying to get blue collar workers to trade services for collegiate stuff. It's a good one. It's you know how the South Park guys are. It probably toes the line of what is and isn't comedy and what is and isn't hate speech. Sometimes they say some pretty on the line stuff. They always do. They always have. They always will. In general, I think it's great. I think it's very funny. I'd say watch it. It's not going to be my fresh pick of the week, spoiler alert, but it is a fresh movie that you could watch with your eyes, especially if you're a fan of South Park.
I've seen this pop up on Paramount Plus a lot, and I started it one day and saw the first like 5 minutes and thought it was hilarious. And it was one of those classic, like, I don't have time to watch this in its entirety right now. I'm going to revisit this because it looks great. And I just haven't had a chance to. So you talking about it
The
now,
first
I'll
5
go
minutes
back.
are hilarious. Cartman is having nightmares that he's going to be replaced by a woman of color, and that all of his friends are going to be replaced by women of color, and that's the nightmare that's keeping him up asleep, like from sleeping at night. We're all going to be replaced by women of color. Oh my god! Yeah, it's funny. It's South Park. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Nothing's going to change your mind at this point, I don't think.
That's
Fair enough. It looks like the rest of the movies on our list are all added by me. So I'm going to go through some of these really fast because some of them aren't worth giving that much time to. Trolls Band Together. Third Troll movie. The hook is that NSYNC reunited for a song in this movie. It's at the very end. The song kind of slaps. The rest of the movie, it's very much third Trolls movie. You don't need to go see this in theaters. Honestly, thought Wish was better than this one, and that's saying something. So, Trolls Band Together. My daughter liked it.
Boy,
Take that
sounds
as
like
you
that
will.
did not need to happen.
Yeah, not really. Next is Leo. This is a new animated film on Netflix from Happy Madison. And Adam Sandler voices a 75-year-old lizard who, basically he's a lizard as a class pet. And at his old age, he thinks he's, basically on his last stretch of life, and so he's trying to figure out how he can make a difference in the world, and he does so by trying to help out the kids in the class and giving them tips for life. And this movie is like pretty fun, pretty charming. It's Adam Sandler doing his Adam Sandler thing, and his family is like all in it and voices half the characters, and other people are like, principals voiced by Rob Schneider and all that. It's the typical like Sandler gang of pals that are in this. Bill Burr voices a turtle that shares a cage with Leo the lizard. Anyways, it's totally fine. It's actually a pretty decent Netflix animated fare. The animation itself doesn't look that impressive, but like it's pretty fun to throw on if you're just looking for something light to watch. So that's Leo. It's on Netflix.
Not bad. It's not great, but
it's not bad. It's not bad, but
Quick aside here, you know what animation really holds up is Rango. I watched that recently, and it's sick. Rango's really good. The animation
Rango rules.
crazy.
I love Rango. And I think the thing with Leo is, like you said, John, it's fine. Like, it's serviceable animation. There's a whole other discussion on animation you can get into with, like, Across the Spider-Verse and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it really feels like now that some movies have come out and really elevated the animation and made it look really cool. So it's more noticeable when something like Leo looks a little bit more plain.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's totally fine.
One of the things I will say about that is that one of the things I love about animation is that there's room in the space for all levels of quality. You know what I mean? Like, they don't all have to achieve Spider-Verse. Like,
Right.
Adventure Time doesn't have the greatest animation. It's kind of simpler, but they have their own style, and that's what makes it work. There's room for lots of different things.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, this year is really a year for animation fans to feast out because you've got, like I said, Across the Spider-Verse was this year, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, upcoming. There's still a Hayao Miyazaki new movie coming out next month, The Boy and the Heron, and some other things. Like it's actually a really great year for animation, and if for Leo being a direct to Netflix animated movie that's like pretty solid, it's great. It's good. There's plenty for animation fans. So I actually do recommend it. I also watched a documentary on Netflix called Sly, and this is an hour and a half documentary about Sylvester Stallone. It's basically just like a long form interview with him about his career. And, this comes at an interesting time because just a few months ago, there was a 3-hour documentary series about Arnold that's also on Netflix. And Arnold has a very interesting career, because you have the bodybuilding portion of it, the movie star portion of it, the political portion of it, and it's just like there's been a lot. And Sly is more, he's a movie star, but he's also an auteur, and so the way that he talks about his movies is very different because it comes, he comes to some of these as having been like a writer or a director and things like that. But hearing Sly talk about his own movies was far less interesting than I was expecting it to be. Unfortunately, I thought this was, even at only an hour and a half, I thought it was kind of a slug. I do like hearing him talk about Rocky, but the rest of it, it just didn't do it for me. Sly had a lot of daddy issues, basically, is kind of what it comes down to. And if you're a huge Sylvester Stallone fan, sure, you'll probably like this. For me, I got kind of bored in it, but that's Sly. It's on Netflix. Another Netflix movie, Best Christmas Ever. This is dog shit Christmas schlock that's on Netflix. This is like the Netflix, their kind of attempt at doing these Hallmark holiday movies. It stars Heather Graham and Jason Biggs. It's not good. It barely functions as a plot in a movie. Oh, and it also has Brandy in it. The singer,
that was my review of 8-Bit Christmas last year, which I think that one wasn't Netflix. That one was HBO, but that was the one that had Neil Patrick Harris as a straight dad for no reason, and the movie was just unwatchably terrible. Yeah, you gotta love Christmas schlock movies.
I've seen 8-Bit Christmas. I would much rather rewatch that than watch Best Christmas Ever again.
Ooh.
Best Christmas Ever. Real bad. When I last checked earlier today, it's number 2 on the top watched movies on Netflix, but that usually happens with these Christmas movies. It's real bad. Real bad. Moving on to Paramount Plus, Good Burger 2. They made a sequel to Good Burger 26 years later.
I know. I am so ready to watch this, and I'm so terrified at what you're about to say next. You might totally turn me off to this movie.
First off, when I saw Good Burger 2 was out, I was like, man, I've seen the first Good Burger movie probably 100 times, but still haven't seen it in over 20 years. So I'm like, you know what? Gonna rewatch Good Burger. Rewatched Good Burger. Man, what a crazy time capsule of 90s nostalgia with Keenan and Kel. It is kind of crazy that it even exists, but it truly is a product of its time when all that was super popular and the fact that Good Burger got made. And now there's a sequel.
Yeah, it was kind of a copycat of SNL for kids, and just like Lorne Michaels was producing SNL movies, Nickelodeon thought we could probably try to do the same thing.
And there's kind of a whole interesting thing with the dynamic of Keenan and Kel, because they were like best buds, seemingly. They're both on all that. And then they get their show together, Keenan and Kel, and it was like, oh, these dudes are inseparable. They made Good Burger, and like back then, Kel was always the funny one, and Keenan was kind of the straight man. And it really seemed like Kel was going to go on to have like the big career because he was so funny, seemingly back then, and he was in Mystery Men, and then like it kind of fizzled. Keenan then goes on to have this super long career on Saturday Night Live and making movies throughout the years, and like has been super successful. And it does kind of seem like there's been this like weird dramatic chat of like what happened to Keenan and Kel over the years, and they're seemingly fine, and now they've reunited and made a Good Burger sequel. this movie was basically made for us. Like, it's made for the people who grew up with the first Good Burger and liked it and maybe have nostalgia for it and want to revisit it. I can't imagine that a Gen Zer watching this for the first time on Paramount or seeing this is going to be like, let me go back and watch Good Burger. Like, I just don't know where Good Burger's place in, the greater populace of pop culture is. Like, I just don't know.
Right
I can't
next
believe
to
this got
Clerks.
made.
That's where it's at.
But it's watching the two back to back, it's very much in line with the first Good Burger. So if you like the first one, you'll probably find things you'll like in the second one. I was expecting it to be a total travesty, and it's not. Like,
That's what I'm expecting.
it's just more Good Burger. So maybe I had nostalgia glasses on. It's not great by any means, but like, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, just the fact that it exists, I thought it was going to be unwatchable, just absolutely terrible. And that remains to be seen. It sounds like you're not super low on it, but you're not super high on it either.
I mean, to be
I'm
fair,
not super low on it, and I'm not super high on it. Exactly. I'm right in the middle.
it's not called Great Burger, so it'll be all right.
The thing is with Good Burger is it's not the type of movie where I'm going to say everybody needs to see this. No. Only watch this movie if the original has some sort of nostalgia for you, because that's the only way you're going to get anything out of this new one. I don't think that any new Good Burger fans will be made out of this movie.
Like, here's the thing, right? I've seen Good Burger, but it wasn't good then. You know what I mean? Like, it was never good. Good Burger should have never been made. It was like a skit. It was a skit on all that, and it was fine. But it should have never been over an hour long. That's ridiculous.
There is a part in the first Good Burger where an angry customer says to Kel Mitchell's Ed, character's name's Ed, angry customer says, "You better watch your butt." And then Ed proceeds to look over his shoulder and spin in circles as he tries to watch his own butt, and he tells the customer that that's impossible. That is a bit in the first movie, and 26 years later, it made me laugh. Made me laugh again.
It was never good. That's what I'm saying. It was never good. So my expectations are very low.
Mondo Burger. Remember Mondo Burger?
Yep.
Yeah, how could I forget Mondo Burger? That's like the whole plot of the entire movie, Drew.
Mm-hmm. And Kel sings a song that goes, "I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, because we're all dudes.
We're
Hey!"
all dudes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
good.
that song. It's almost like a SpongeBob song.
It slaps. I'm gonna move on from Good Burger 2 now. I think it's time. To another bad movie that's on Peacock. I just watched all the different original movies that came out this week and all the streamers. I'm sorry to everybody listening to this.
Good Lord.
Genie is on Peacock. It stars Melissa McCarthy as a genie, and it's a Christmas movie, and it's a guy who his wife is essentially leaving him. He finds a magic jewelry box with a genie in it. She can grant unlimited wishes. It's basically just him going around making wishes with Melissa McCarthy. Barely even functions as a movie. There's barely any plot to this. It's not good. Don't watch it.
No.
It looked terrible. I saw the trailer.
No.
It looked terrible.
I, this entire time, thought this was animated. I can't believe this is live action.
This is live action.
Oh, no,
This
yeah,
looks
it's- oh,
so
yeah,
bad.
It's definitely live action.
This is live action.
I just
Oh yeah.
typed in Genie Peacock and typed it and hit images, and so it's I can't. This looks so bad. Oh my god.
I will end with a movie that I thought was good, and it is called Infinity Pool. And I watched this on Hulu. It was released in theaters earlier this year. Infinity Pool is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, who's the son of David Cronenberg. Very famous director, known for like a lot of cool horror, very like strange horror films. And Brandon Cronenberg certainly follows in his father's footsteps. He did a movie a couple of years ago called Possessor that I really liked. And Infinity Pool is very weird. I don't think that it's amazing, but it's definitely worth watching if you like these kind of strange horror movies that are just total vibe fests. To not go into spoiling it, the plot of this movie is Alexander Skarsgård and his wife are at this resort in a foreign country that is not a civilized country, but this resort is very nice. It's beautiful, but it's surrounded by like barbed wire fences. Don't leave the resort. You stay at the resort. And if you essentially some things happen and Alexander Skarsgård his character breaks some of the rules on the island, and the punishment for what happened is essentially execution. But the island has advanced technology where they can essentially clone you and make a double. And if you pay a whole lot of money, they will do that. And then they will execute your double instead of you so that you can go on living. But also, as part of it, you have to watch your own execution. So that's like kind of the plot of the movie and where it goes from there.
It's hot.
It's super, super strange. It's very atmospheric. And the first hour of it, I think, is super intriguing, and then it kind of loses its luster in the second half of it. But I did think it was
So
it was
not to
pretty
be
solid.
That guy, because it's kind of a weird scenario to be put into. But do you think you could watch a clone of yourself get executed? You think you'd have any problem with that? I think that I would be just fine.
The thing too
I
that
feel like it'd be deeply upsetting.
I don't want to get into like all the intricacies of the movie, but one of the things that they set up is that your double doesn't know that it's a double and has all of your memories and thinks that it knows that it's guilty of the crime of which, you're being executed for. But then it brings up the more existential question of like, am I the double, or is that really the double, or is that really the original me, or am I the original me, and those kinds of things, because like you never really know.
That's
And
always
so
the
there's-
question, isn't it?
There's some interesting things brought up with that, but then the way that it continues on and how it plays with this thing is like it doesn't feel like they fully explored everything they could have done, but it's there's nobody else making crazy movies like this other than Brandon Cronenberg. Mia Goth also stars in this movie, who she's been like kind of the new horror queen of the past year. She's in X and Pearl and upcoming Maxine, and she just has like a very interesting look, and she's kind of like the new Scream queen in town, and I'll kind of watch anything that she's in at this point. So yeah, that's Infinity Pool. It is on Hulu right now. And that's it for our movies of the week. There was a lot. The rest of these segments will be a lot quicker because we do not have as many things to go through.
Yeah, we had a couple weeks off and you watched a lot of movies. Let's talk about some fresh TV now, some of the streaming shows we've been watching.
Well, and we'll first talk about the one that everybody can participate in, because you both have talked about, you've sung the praises of Invincible on Prime Video, and so I told y'all, I'm like, I'm gonna dig into this. I'm finally gonna start watching it, and I haven't finished the first season yet. I think I've watched 5 of the 8 episodes of the first season, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm hoping that within the next week or so, I'll finish the first season and get caught up on season 2. But y'all were right. Like, the hype for this show is real. I'm as I'm watching the first season and knowing that there's a second season, I'm kind of like, I want to see where I'm just eager to get through the rest of the first season to see where it ends up, to see what they do with season 2, because there's the overall kind of question lingering over the first season and where it's going to go. I'm interested to see how that resolves and to kind of know what everybody else knows. So that's all I'll say about it for now, because I don't want to take up the time about it since I'm not caught up.
It's
But I
definitely
want
really
y'all
hard to
about it.
talk about season 2 without any season 1 spoilers, especially where we are now in season 2 with the plot that's going on. There's some stuff in season 1 that matters towards it.
Yeah.
So I hate to sound like a broken record and say that it's awesome and you should watch it. But Invincible is better than anything DC or Marvel has put out in the past 2 or 3 years. If you want some superhero content and you're tired of what you've been fed, really take a look at Invincible on Amazon Prime. It's such a blast. It's super violent. super, super violent. It's a cartoon, so those are the two things that you have to get over. One, you have to say, I'm an adult watching a cartoon. Two, you have to say, this cartoon is really violent. And once you get over those two speed bumps, it's the characters' depth is well written. The powers are really cool. Everyone's super intriguing. There's lots of little stories going on. There's so many stories going on that you can forget about characters and their stories. And then their arcs come crashing back into the main storyline all of a sudden in a really enjoyable way. There's a lot of great stuff going on with Invincible. Drew, I hope you are caught up next week so we can talk about some of the spoiler type stuff going on in season 2.
Yeah, I agree. I'll once again say Invincible, including live action, Invincible is one of the best pieces of superhero media out right now. It's really good. Like, I was put off ever made. Yeah, it's. I was originally put off by the animation a little bit. Like, it wasn't really my style. Like, I wasn't grabbed when I saw the previews. I was kind of hesitant to watch it, but once I got into it, it's a crazy ride. Season 1 ends crazy. Season 2 picks up in an interesting spot, and not only do they answer some of the questions, but they also create a bunch of new questions, and like there's a lot of new stuff going on that you didn't know was going on the whole time, and they take it to some really interesting places. The thing I love about Invincible is that it's obviously created by someone who loves superheroes and tropes, because they do them. They do the tropes. They mess with time travel. They mess with alternate universe. Like, you know, like the I don't know if you got to the dimension where like they live at an accelerated rate or whatever.
Yes, I did.
Like, they do stuff like that. They do these crazy situations, supernatural situations. They touch every corner of the superhero universe very quickly, cleanly, and in like an intelligent way. And as someone who loves superheroes, it's just a love letter to everything I've ever liked about the genre. I find
myself not questioning the setting a whole lot. Like, the fact that there are aliens and demons and stuff, but it's also takes place in modern real world. There's a lot of stuff I just don't find myself questioning, because other comic books have spent so long setting up these kinds of worlds and these kinds of universes that Invincible doesn't take its time to spoon feed you all that stuff. It's just like, yeah, it's one of those superhero worlds where superhero stuff happens. Get with it.
They present it in such a way that you don't question it at all. It just like, they don't present it like it's weird. They present it like it belongs, and so you don't question it, and it's done very well.
I love that demon investigator. That is
I love the
cool
demon
character.
investigator. Yeah, he's great.
Well, and I also really like it. You know, he's in the first season, so I'm familiar with him. And he's voiced by Clancy Brown, which is awesome. It's Mr. Krabs himself. And I think that's what I was going to say with the show. Is like, I knew that Steven Yeun voiced the main character, and I knew that J.K. Simmons was Omni-Man. I knew that going into it. I've been surprised at how great the voice cast has been from the supporting cast, at least for where I'm at in the first season. People that have popped up, it's like Mark Hamill, Seth Rogen, which of course he's a producer on the show. I find it hilarious that Zachary Quinto voices a robot in it after playing the most robotic character in 3 Star Trek movies as well. I find that to be very funny and good casting. Jillian Jacobs, Jason Mantzoukas, Sandra Oh, John Hamm's popped up randomly. Walton Goggins, Mahershala Ali is a big part of where I'm at right now. Yeah. Zazie Beetz, like there's tons of people in this, and it's kind of cool seeing everybody. It feels like the people that are in this want to be a part of it because they know that it's like a cool animated violent show that's, you know, very appealing. So I'm liking it.
Seth Rogen being involved, I think that's why I got confused the other week when I said that Robert Kirkman did this and The Boys. He's not involved in both. Seth Rogen's involved in both. Mm-hmm. That's why I got confused.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Drew, you've seen his character, Seth Rogen's character. He does make a cameo in the second season as well. So you're not done with Alan the alien yet.
Alan the alien's great.
I like his character. That was a good fight, and then the way that it ended when you find out what exactly his character is and what he does, I thought that was very funny.
He was trying to go to Wrath instead of Earth the whole time. That was a pretty funny
Urath. That's Earth, dude. Yeah, it's really funny.
Nothing
It's
but high
it's always
praise for
weird
you.
though. It's always weird to be in the position that I'm in, where like you're catching up on a show 2 years later, and you're like, man, this is really good, and like you almost have the feeling of like, why didn't anybody tell me this was good? But literally everybody was telling me that it was good when it was on, and I just didn't watch it. And now I'm watching it. I'm like, why didn't I watch this when everybody else was? So,
It's
um,
so good. If you're that guy, if you're Drew at home and you're that guy who hasn't started Invincible yet, please
not too late.
start Invincible. Please watch it. I know that you have Amazon right now because it's Christmas season, and I don't support Amazon all year long, but I have to during Christmas season, so I know you are too. So use your Prime and watch Invincible for the month that you have it, and then stop watching. Then go back to not supporting them next year.
Yeah, see, the whole thing, like, I understand where you're coming from, because, like, even when season 2 came out, like, I somehow forgot how good it was. I was excited. I started watching it. I'm like, okay, let's get back into this. And then, like, I couldn't stop watching them because they just suck you in, man. They're just so good. You're like, I can't wait for the next one. So, yeah, I love Invincible. All right.
I think
Yeah.
this is a great. I think Invincible is a really good testament to Drew's stuff should come out weekly instead of dropping it all at once.
Yeah.
If you dropped Invincible all at once, I would have binged it in one weekend. I would have talked about it one time, and that would have been it. Instead, this is going to be a weekly thing. It's the thing that keeps me coming back every week. It's the streaming show right now for me. You know, sometimes it's Marvel,
Sure.
sometimes it's Hulu or whatever. Right now, it's my show. Invincible is the one that keeps me coming back.
See, I don't mind weekly releases typically. Like, I enjoy that, like, oh, I guess I'm watching this next Thursday. You know, like, that's cool to me. I like having something to look forward to. But I don't mind when they dump everything. It's just, really, I don't care either way. Like, just give me the stuff however you see fit.
well, there's another show that I want to talk about that's on Netflix, and this is Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Have either of y'all checked this out at all?
I know what you're talking about,
No,
but no,
I
I
don't
haven't
have
seen it yet.
that right now.
So it's an animated version of Scott Pilgrim, and the notable thing about this is that it's the voice, the original cast of the Edgar Wright movie all reprise their roles for this animated version of the show. And the thing about this that's very interesting is I heard some people when it first came out talking about, like, so basically they just remade the movie but in animation, like, what's the point there? And even people that had claimed to have watched it were saying that, and anybody that has said that is truly showing their ass, because basically this show does start off exactly as the movie and comics does, and follows the same plot. And I won't spoil anything of what happens, but at the end of the first episode, there's a twist that happens that is different from the comics and from the movie, and then the whole thing kind of diverts from there. I initially kind of thought this was just going to be like, oh, are they actually using the audio track from the movie to fill in the show? And it's very much not. Like, they all came back and recorded new dialogue and new things for this. So this is not just a retread of the show and movie. And Scott Pilgrim versus the World is honestly, like, in my top 10 all-time movies. I love that movie. It's easily my favorite Edgar Wright movie. And I have all the comic books and I've read them, and I really like this series, and this show has been a very pleasant surprise. So I recommend it. They're 30-minute episodes, so they're pretty, bite-sized pieces, easy to get through, and it does go in directions that I wasn't expecting it. So that's Scott Pilgrim Takes Off on Netflix.
I'll definitely be watching it because I'm pretty sure Scott Pilgrim the movie is Jenny's favorite movie of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, she's a big fan. So I'm sure she'll want to watch this.
And it's one of those movies that came out in 2010, and, like, literally everybody in it, even if they were a kind of, a lot of them were just getting their start, and now they're all mega stars. Like, people like Brie Larson and Chris Evans, and even like Aubrey Plaza and Anna Kendrick and Kieran Culkin, who, he just had a huge run in Succession. Like, all these people were not that famous when this movie came out, and now they're all super famous. And so it's kind of crazy that they all came back to do this show. And it's really, I think it's made all the better for it. It's enjoyable.
I would say Scott Pilgrim's a real cult classic of our time. It's really something that kind of came out under the radar, and everybody kind of loves it, and everybody became somebody. But if you go back and watch it, it's this coming of age film with all these young stars, and that's what makes a cult classic. You can't really predict it.
It popped up on my Netflix trending now, obviously, because I'm watching the show, and it makes sense that anybody else watching the show might go revisit the movie. And I had never seen this before on Netflix, but when it popped up on trending and I highlighted it, it said something like, in the print under the description, it was like 90% of our users who watch this movie give it a thumbs up or something like that. I was like, I've never seen them put that on a movie hyping it that way, but it did say that.
All right, let's move off TV and movies. Let's talk about some video games. I brought up Battlefield 2043 last time we recorded. I said they've updated some things. It's fun to play again. It's still going to make my pick for fresh games this week. I've been playing a bunch of Battlefield. I even made a new friend online. Shout out to Infamous. Now is a new guy we play with all the time and hang out with. Infamous is the homie. So Battlefield 23, still good news for me. Still my fresh pick for gaming this week.
I've been playing a lot too. It's still very fun. If you haven't tried it, it's good now, so it's safe to try.
I have a game that I've been playing, and I redeemed one of my Nintendo Switch Online tickets, and I got Super Mario RPG Remake on the Nintendo Switch. And I think I'm like nearing the last portion of the game. Like I just started it a few days ago, but I got to play it a lot during the holidays, and I'm maybe only like 10 or 11 hours into it, but I think I have 5 or 6 of the stars that you collect in it, and there's 7 total. So I'm already in late stage of the game. I did not have a Super Nintendo. I have not played the original Super Mario RPG, or if I did, it was briefly at friends' houses when I was younger, and so I played like little bits and pieces of it, but this is my first time getting to play it in its entirety. And it's a very traditional turn-based RPG. There's some little new things in the remake that allegedly, as someone who hasn't played the original, that are little things that are different or updated. I have mixed feelings about this game because I've been kind of addicted to it. Like I've been playing it a lot. I'm gonna beat it, and I'm really enjoying it. From a modern day video game, this is very much just like a reskinned version of the Super Nintendo game. It looks nice, but not at all amazing. And sometimes you forget that you're playing a modern game because it's very much like three-dimensional while two-dimensional. I don't know how to explain it. You like how it was on Super Nintendo is how it plays now. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a knock. It's a remake. That's what it's supposed to be. But it feels very old school, but I've just been kind of addicted to it, and I'm excited that I'm gonna get to beat this game for the first time.
I'm excited to hear what you think when you do. The original is probably, almost definitely in my top 10 of all time games.
Isn't there something else coming out that's like a Mario RPG soon? Like, is there like a Paper Mario 2 or something happening?
I think that they're doing a
feel like there's
remaster
something
or
that
remake
looks really
of
cool.
Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, which was the
Yeah.
Paper Mario game, and they're doing a remaster of it for the Switch soon because it's a very beloved game.
Something
I
like that,
never
yeah.
played Mario RPG or Paper Mario, and I don't know the difference between them.
They're both RPGs.
Turn-based. Yeah, they're both turn-based RPGs. The difference is the Paper Mario games are made by Nintendo, and
Mario RPG is
feature.
co-opted by Square Enix.
Yes, it was at the height of like Final Fantasy games coming out on Super Nintendo, and they collaborated with Nintendo to make this RPG, and it was the first time that Mario had been in an RPG like this, and so
And it has original
Paper Mario.
characters.
The gameplay of Paper Mario and Super Mario RPG are actually kind of similar, except Paper Mario really plays with its aesthetic and the fact that all the characters are flat and made of paper.
I want to say this past summer, when we all watched like the games shows and the expos and stuff that came on Nintendo, I was really excited for some Mario thing Nintendo was doing, and it must have been Paper Mario 2. I don't think it was the RPG remake, but it might have been. That's why I'm asking so many questions, because I want to play one of these Mario games that I missed out on, but I don't think it's this one.
It might not be. This one has two of my favorite characters that are in no other games. Gino and what's his name, Malo.
Yeah, Gino is awesome. I like
love
Malo
Gino.
too, but Gino is especially awesome.
Gino's super cool, man. My little super powered Pinocchio boy. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, this game will always hold a special place in my heart. So I'm gonna play it eventually on the remake and relive those glory days.
Yeah, I recommend it. I really do. I think, especially if you're like me and you never got a chance to play it, this is the best way to do so now.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it, Drew.
Speaking of old games, Alan Wake. All the talk about Alan Wake 2 got me to check out Alan Wake, the original, on the Steam sale. I don't know if you guys... I know you guys aren't the biggest PC gamers, but right now, the Steam sale is going on for like another week. I think it goes into December a bit. But it's a huge Black Friday.
I always liked Alan Wake because he rides on a jet ski too fast.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a fair joke. I get behind
Now,
that.
Jahan,
But
released.
But I actually like the sequel, Alan Asleep, even more.
Oh boy.
See, it's funny because
no.
like the game does have to do with sleeping and dreaming and nightmares. So like, it's funny that his name's Alan Wake, but you know.
A Wake.
Now, the version that you bought from the Steam sale, because I know that they actually released Alan Wake Remastered, I think within the past year or two, kind of in preparation for Alan Wake 2 coming out. So is the version you bought in the Steam sale just the original, or is it the true Alan Wake Remaster that came out
It might be the remaster because the graphics are pretty good, but it might be the original. I don't actually know. Didn't pay that close of attention. I got a few things in the Steam sale. Nothing major and new. The selection of what I wanted versus what was on sale didn't quite match up. I'm kind of embarrassed by my purchases, but I bought the Elder Scrolls bundle for like $15. It has the Morrowind Complete Edition, Oblivion Complete, Game of the Year Edition, Morrowind Game of the Year Edition, Oblivion, and Skyrim. So like I'm going to be looking at those again. I've been wanting to go back into Morrowind. And then
Xbox had like a Black Friday or a holiday sale going on for the next few weeks as well, and I actually bought a game on there that Gary had talked about a long time ago on this show, and I think it was super cheap. Like I want to say it was like $15 or something, but I bought Biomutant. I haven't played it yet,
okay.
but I purchased it.
It's
And I
not
have a
great.
feeling like I feel like I bought it and it's going to come to Game Pass like next week. I just
Yeah.
feel like that's what's going to
That's
happen.
So that's so funny because it's on. Isn't it on? Is it? Maybe not. I thought it was on EA Play now. Maybe not though. Biomutant's
Oh
not
gosh,
great.
I hope not.
the other thing I bought was the complete collection of XCOM. So I got XCOM and all of its DLC. I've kind of put XCOM out of my life because it destroyed my sleep. But I think I want to pick it up again because I miss it. And apparently, I'm never going to get another XCOM game. So, hey, I'm going to go touch it. But that's kind of what I bought so far on the Steam sale. I've been looking, kind of trying to see if there's anything else. There's a few other good games. Just nothing that I'm looking for right now. It's not scratching the itches. But, hey, if you get anything good on the Steam sale, let me know. Either of you two or anyone on Twitter or X or Blue Sky or whatever. Just let me know what you got on the Steam sale or any game deals because I'm looking for stuff right now.
Hey, Drew, to answer the question, Biomutant was removed from EA Play 6 months ago, and there are people who are pissed off about it because they were, halfway through a play or they were right before the final boss or something like that, and it got taken off with no warning. So it was for a while on EA Play, but no longer.
Well, it was super cheap in this sale, so I was like, I'll pick it up because it's the type of game that I like to jump into every now and then. I feel like I remember you being relatively positive on it. Not like over the moon, but you were positive.
It was fine. It was not great. It really, you might have some fun with it. It's almost like it's like a throwback almost to how video games used to be, to how they were.
Is it like an
almost
open
feels
world kind of checkbox RPG-ish game?
It's not as open world as I don't know. It's better to do it by zones for sure. So it's almost more like Spyro-ish or Banjo-Kazooie-ish, where it's
Okay,
open
yeah, that's
world,
my
but it's
style.
better to do it by zones. Yeah. The thing that struck me, like I wanted to be able to play a bunch of different types of like animal folk, but you're always like knee high. You're always going to be like a knee high animal folk. And I was like, bro, I want to be like a walrus or something. I want to be like a tank, bro. I don't want to be like this cute little fur guy. So it wasn't exactly what I was looking for in the game because I played Spore and there's never been anything like it before or since. That brings us to the end of video games. You guys want to talk about the fresh picks of the week? This is what people should spend their time doing.
Yeah. This is where we each pick one of the things that we've talked about in one of these three categories as our official fresh pick of the week. Who goes first?
Drew, go first.
I'll go first. I decided to go with Super Mario RPG as my fresh pick of the week. And the reason I did so, because I know I wasn't like raving about it super hard. But it was kind of like none of the movies that I saw like really blew me away. And the thing with Mario RPG is like regardless of what it is, like it's been hard to pull myself away from it. Like truly, it's what I've been doing in my spare time. And any game that I feel like grips me like that, I have to shut it out because I've been kind of flying through it and really enjoying it, and it's got me playing my Nintendo Switch. So I'm not mad about it. But yeah, my fresh pick of the week is Super Mario RPG remake on the Nintendo Switch.
I think there's probably a lot of people who are going to like that pick.
I like
I
that
think
pick a
probably-
lot. It makes me
probably
feel
good pick.
validated.
I'm going to come in with something you guys know I'm hot on. I'm going to come in with Invincible Season 2. Season 2 of Invincible. It is hot fire. I can't wait to watch it every week. Usually there's like 2 or 3 shows that I can't wait to watch. I record them and I can't wait to see them, and they bring me back to my TV every week. Right now I've been playing more games. I've been painting more minis. There's only one show that has got me coming back, and that's Invincible Season 2. 100% put in my butt in the chair. I'm about it.
I thought you were
Absolutely.
about to say put it in my butt, and so I started to laugh. But then I realized you finished that sentence the way you should have.
Grow
so
up,
that's on
Drew.
me.
Hey, you're weird.
My fresh pick of the week is also Invincible Season 2. I'm very high on this show. I think it's one of the best things out there right now. Definitely one of the best animated things. Definitely one of the best superhero things. So if you like any of those things, check out this thing, Invincible Season 2. My fresh pick of the week. And with that, I think that wraps up our Fresh Out the Podcast this week. Hey, thanks everyone for listening. We're glad to be back. Sorry about the hiatus, but hey, holiday times are tricky. But yeah, I've been Johanna and the board game guru, and game master extraordinaire.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Podcast and Fresh Out the Box. That's where we talk about tabletop role-playing games. We play them. We play different systems with different people. We're always trying to have fun, make you guys laugh or cry or poop your pants or just be there, just some background noise, whatever. Check out Fresh Out the Box TTRPG. We're available on YouTube. We have a Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Johannanon. We have a Facebook, Fresh Out the Box TTRPG. Come be a part of what we're doing. It could be fun for you. If you like those games, you can share them with your friends. You can watch us play it first and decide if you want to buy that book or play that game. Otherwise, we're doing Fresh Out Your Mama's House. That's where I have sex with your mom and then run out the door right when you get home. It's the holidays right now, so it's a great time. A lot of people are coming home for Thanksgiving. I'm able to run out of a lot of houses right now. I'm going to do some at Christmas, too. I can't wait. You guys just stay tuned.
Whose
for Fresh Out
mom
Your
do you
Mama's
have
House.
on the docket for this week?
So I filmed one, obviously you know already. I had a really good one last week where Jahan and both of his brothers were coming home all at once, and I came running out of the house with my hands over my crotch and just a Santa hat on. It was a whole, you guys are going to love it.
It was a good one. It was my favorite episode for sure.
Drew, what day did
I'm-
you say you're going to your parents' house? Because I'll be there.
Nope, I'm not taking the bait. I am Drew Munhausen. You can find me at Drew Munhausen on Twitter and different social media platforms. This has been episode 109 of Fresh Out the Podcast. And if you liked our little format refresh, please let us know. I actually really liked it myself and thought it flowed really well. But, give us your feedback. We love to hear it. And thanks for listening.
Stay fresh.